baby, you're mine. All mine. Check on me tonight.
All right. How's it going, everybody? Great evening, great evening. Good to see everybody jumping on little by little. We have close to 50 people on this amazing Zoom call that we have in store for tonight. People are still filing in little by little in this virtual world that we have today in 2022. Hope everybody's having an amazing Friday, and I hope you had an amazing week thus far. You could have been anywhere in the world. You could have been partying. You could have been having fun. You could have been turning up on a Friday. But I can tell we have some very bright people on our call today that decided to be with us and learn a little bit more about one of our amazing solutions, especially in today's day and age where, unfortunately, as of 2020, we got hit with a pandemic, a global pandemic, and a lot of lives were lost in that process. A lot of chaos occurred. People lost jobs, the market went down. And so a lot of people were impacted negatively, right, during the pandemic and still feeling some of the effects of that as time goes on. But of course, in the midst of chaos, there's always a group of people or maybe some concepts, some ideas, some mission, some crusade of individuals that want to not panic in those times, but rather pivot and look for the solutions for an ever-changing world. And I just want to appreciate you guys for being on tonight. I know that we had over 90 registrations, so hopefully we can get close to that number as much as possible. And tonight we have an amazing guest speaker. Really quickly, just about myself for about a minute or so. My name is Aaron Pagan. I am calling in from New York City. If you guys can, first of all, house rules, please have your cameras on for those of you that can. If you're in a space where it may be distracting, or maybe you're at work, or maybe you're making some fried chicken, I don't know what you're doing, but just make sure that you have those cameras on, because we also feed off of your energy as speakers. Me being the host, I want to kick it off with some amazing energy. So hopefully you can put your cameras on. Really quickly, I'm calling in from New York City. I want everybody in the chat right now, right? Let's just see if we could get a wave of people that are going to put their location in the chat so we can see where everybody's located at. I know we have a lot of people in New York. We have people, look at that, Chicago, Illinois, New York City, Bronx, that's where I'm calling in from, Ohio, New Jersey. Come on, keep it coming, guys, keep it coming. New York, I think New York is dominating here. Look at that. The overwhelming location that we see typed in the chat over and over again. Oh, we got some California. Look at that, Manhattan. I saw Kansas, Arkansas. I've actually been to Arkansas a couple of times, right? Yonkers. Beautiful. Love to see it, guys. Well, really quickly, a little bit about myself. My name is Aaron Pagan. I've been part of World Financial Group for over 7.5 years. So when I started, I was just graduating from college. I was recruited by my best friend, Pierre Correa, who's actually on this call right now. Prior to that, I was doing real estate for about 4 years, loved real estate. It was my first introduction to entrepreneurship and self-employment and controlling my own time and making my own rules. And eventually got introduced to the financial industry back in 2015. And let me tell you, a good portion, if not all of the information that I learned from World Financial Group associates, I did not learn in college. So I spent all those years in school. I'm not going to tell you how many, because it was a lot before I graduated. And I didn't learn it from my peers, from people within my community, my family, my friends, my coworkers throughout the years. I learned it from WFG. WFG absolutely changed my life. And I hope that we have that same impact on you tonight with the information that we're going to share. And so throughout the years, being able to build an operation with my lovely business partners, Michelle and Angel and Pierre, and of course, my partner now, Ms. Chantel Sanchez, who's doing a lot of the background stuff with the music and coordination of everything. And so we also have Odetta King, who's on the call as well. Another amazing leader coming out of New York City that really made this operation take off and start gaining some traction. And so we have an amazing agenda in store for you tonight and some great information. And I hope that you guys will take some notes tonight. We're not going to be on very long, so we're going to be straight to the point. We're going to have some great information that you're going to really take a lot of value from. And of course, we have an amazing guest speaker, which is the guy that you saw on the flyer. He's one of my good friends in business. right? One of my good friends in life. Every single time this guy comes from Chicago to New York, he makes sure that he gathers the troops. And I know that he's also coming back out here in December as well. And we always have a nice little dinner and we get to talking about how we can explode this business to the next level. And most importantly, help as many families as possible. Because if you guys were to do a search right now, and I'm sure you can relate to this, maybe in your own family, your own friends, your own network. And if you were to go on maybe Facebook or some social media platform every once in a while, you see somebody trying to raise money for final expenses, for funeral purposes. And if you were to go on GoFundMe right now, right, and you were to search funeral, you would find over 1,000 searches, right, or campaigns of individuals trying to raise money for final expenses. It is very unfortunate. Or you see people who do fish fries, right? Or car washes, so many different things to raise money, maybe even sell that person's property. I've heard these stories before to be able to raise enough money for a funeral plan, right? And so tonight, we're going to talk about maybe not the most exciting topic, but a very necessary topic, because the last time I checked, not to be morbid, we all have an expiration date. Our time is going to come one day. There's nothing we can do about it. All we can do within that time is live our lives to the best of our ability, maximize on it, live an amazing life, and then have the ability to properly plan and leave behind as many blessings as possible to our loved ones. And so I want to talk about this man for a couple of seconds. I got to read my notes because I can speak from my heart. I'm going to give you the boring stuff, and then I'm going to talk from my heart. But Mr. Michael Marzak is the regional vice president for Everest, right? Everest Funeral Concierge in the Midwest and Northeast sections and regions. He is a U.S. Army veteran. So please, let's go ahead and let's thank this guy for his service, especially today being Veterans Day, right? And so he has a formal education in finance, as well as a background in international business, automotive finance, and business development. So he knows a thing or two about business and finance. And so he holds an MBA, not the National Basketball Association. This guy can't play basketball to save his life, but he has an MBA, right, with a focus on corporate finance and business analytics. And his goal is to positively impact as many families and lives as possible. So I'll say this before I introduce him and bring him up to the Zoom stage. He's already here, actually. Last thing I'll say is that this guy has a heart of gold. He's all about helping the team. He's all about helping families. The guy knows his stuff through and through. And I know that you guys are going to take amazing, amazing nuggets and value from what he's going to talk about today. So without further ado, my man, my brother, the man with the plan, Mr. Michael Marzak.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. I guess I'll pay you your $25 agreed upon.
One second, Mike. I think we have to allow you to unmute.
You can't hear me? I'm on mute. I'm unmuted. You should be able to hear me. I don't know if Aaron's not hearing me.
Yes, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry about that, Mike. Go for it.
Gotcha.
My volume was
Okay.
down.
Gotcha. I was worried a little bit. I was like, oh, I thought my mic wasn't working there for a second. Okay, good, awesome. I'll share a PowerPoint in a minute here. But first, I want to thank everybody for gathering here on a Friday night. Nonetheless, I know, like Aaron mentioned, you could be partying out there, dancing to music. We had some music earlier though, so I guess you could have danced to it like I did. I don't know how Aaron knows that I'm not good at basketball. That's an assumption. I cannot be in the NBA, but we've never played. We gotta try. Now I'm gonna challenge you because I may be okay. I'm not like terrible. I can throw a basketball. I just not NBA status.
Brother, you saying you can throw a basketball tells me all I need to know.
That's probably right. That's probably true. I will say that's not my greatest sport, right? I'm better at other sports. Football is my game more so. And I won't even I will say the worst sport I'm at is golf. If anybody wants to golf and win, you take me there. So I wanted to thank everybody for being here. Guys, it's an amazing time to learn about this kind of stuff. I know Aaron mentioned not the most exciting topic, but I promise you I'll do everything I can to make it as exciting as possible and to chat about why it matters, why it's important, why it's crucial for you and your family to be protected and to be prepared with a plan, nonetheless, not just protected with no plan and no preparation and leaving your family in the dust. right? Thank you to all the people that served, all the people that were affected by their family members serving, and to all of those children, daughters, sons of military veterans today, especially. I appreciate your service. I'm thankful for all the thank yous in the chat too. I appreciate you guys. I will do it all over again in the heartbeat. I want to, before I share the PowerPoint, I do want to resonate what Aaron mentioned about education and learning about personal finance. I have a bachelor's in finance with a focus on investment banking and investments. I have a MBA with a focus on finance, corporate finance, and business analytics. And let me tell you, they do not teach personal finance in any of those curriculums. Everything I've learned about personal finance was on my own or through the working with these guys here. They do not teach that. They teach you how to manage other people's money. They will tell you, hey, you can manage this Fortune 500 company's money here. Here's how to build some options and portfolios, but they do not teach you anything about personal finance at all. I took a personal finance 101 elective, and it didn't teach me anything about investing, planning. It told me to put all my money in a 401k, and that professor was not exactly the greatest selection. No offense if you're on this call by some random stroke of luck, but that professor was not the greatest at teaching personal finance. She only taught us how to compare whether you should buy or lease a car, which I did not think was the most important thing for financial planning, right? And we all need to plan. So what we're gonna go through today is, first, we're gonna start off with some fun facts. Did you know that more than half of the world population is on social media? Are you on social media? I know people say it's an addiction, it's terrible, but it can be pretty good. It gets you connected with other people. It brings you some news. If you're a part of that 4.48 billion, and it's probably a little bit higher now, you can follow myself on Instagram. You can follow Everest on Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to share some cool stuff with you. On the Everest WFG Instagram, there's contests you can join where we do giveaways and prizes every now and then. So feel free to give us a follow. We don't spam random content either, so you won't be seeing us pop up 3-4 times a day. We only do about one post every 3 days, so it's not one of those accounts. But there's one social media platform that's been growing in popularity. So I know I started in positive social media. This social media has been exceptionally quickly growing exponentially over the years, and it really skyrocketed during the COVID pandemic, as Aaron mentioned. It's tragic that this segment is on GoFundMe. I love GoFundMe. Don't get me wrong. There are many cool things through GoFundMe, but memorial fundraising is not one of them. To me, memorial fundraising on GoFundMe is lack of preparation. It's showing that you don't care about your family, and it's essentially begging for change online with a cup, except that your face is removed from the street, right? That's what I think about GoFundMe. But the other thing that scares me about GoFundMe is how they commercialize it. They make it seem like, whoa, look at us. We've raised $400 million for 125,000 campaigns. This is misleading, because if you do the math, $400 million divided by 125,000 campaigns, that is less than $3,200 on average. And if you break that averages and medians into play, if you bring statistics into play, average is skewed because there are a couple of high-level campaigns that have raised a lot of money that ended up on TV, and the majority of people get less than $500. So they're really not a solution. This is a false hope. And if you're popular enough and you can get some celebrities' attention, this may be a way to get money, but majority of people do not have access to a network high enough to be able to raise enough money for a memorial campaign. So this workshop will be about an easy, unique, and simple solution that is a solution to a complex, difficult, and expensive event, and it will help you prevent your family from ending up on GoFundMe and help you in many other ways. But first and foremost, a lot of people ask, what do I actually need? What are the costs of final experience, right? What are the costs of a funeral? What are the costs of a memorial service? Now, I know this is not the exciting topic. This is the sad part. We're going to have the exciting part later. But a lot of people don't actually know. Why? Because we avoid this difficult topic. Because who wants to talk about death and dying and funerals, right? Everybody's like, no, no, no. In fact, when people find out I work at Everest Funeral Concierge, I've realized the word funeral in there makes me 3 times less likely to get invited to parties. So I don't start out by saying that I work for Everest Funeral Concierge. I work for Everest, right? So what do you actually need? What are the costs? If you guys would like to guess, put it in the chat, throw out a number. How much do you think a burial costs and a cremation costs, right? Throw them in the chat. I want to make it a little bit interactive. Let's see. Let's see what people think the average burial and cremation are. 15 to 25 from Usha. See what else we got. 25,000 from Trisha, 10,000 from Stacy, 25,000 from Michelle, 7,000, 10,000, 19,000, 15,000. You see how it varies quite a bit. Some people say 18, people say 30 to 50, 12. It's gonna vary a lot because we don't talk enough about this subject, right? Here is the actual averages. And you might wonder, why is it such a range? If it's supposed to be an average, why is it such a big range? Because they can vary so much, and they vary so much because funeral homes are a for-profit business. They're a for-profit business that encourages the lack of transparency. They're not transparent. What do I mean by that? When was the last time you've seen a billboard that shows funerals and lists a price on it? I am willing to gamble that you've never seen one like that. Why? Because it's a taboo subject people don't want to talk about. And two, why would they spend money advertising, showing how much it costs, when their market is people that are struggling, people that are broken, and people that are not educated on this topic coming into their places, and they will keep coming in, right? Because as Aaron mentioned, we all have an expiration date. It's a perfect business. They never run out of customers, right? Customers will walk in there when they need it, and they won't prepare, they won't compare, they won't look at different costs, because why would they, right? They didn't plan for this. It just happened overnight. Death is not something we control. It's something we get hit with, and we have to care for our family members. And so funeral homes love that because they can judge you by what you appear you could afford. So if I'm going to pick on some random faces, I have a pretty big second screen here with you guys. I'm going to pick on some random people that have their cameras open. If Tarika and Giselle walk into a funeral home with a Louis Vuitton bag and pull up in a silver Mercedes or white Mercedes S-Class, the funeral home knows they can charge them more money. So they're going to be highly likely to end up in the $25,000 range. If Aaron, who's our wonderful host, walks in holding a Michael Jordan signed basketball, because he's apparently really good at basketball, right? They're going to know he can afford more. So they're going to go ahead and charge him more, right? And the reason they do this is because 5 out of 6 families, so majority of the people that go to a funeral home do not sign the very first contract they see and don't negotiate, don't look at it. They just sign it. They're too broken to worry about the money. They just sign it. And there's a lot of fine print and a lot of hidden charges that they may not necessarily need. So where do you go from here? Knowing these costs, knowing this happens, what do you do, right? You have a couple options. Primarily, people have 3 options, right? And the number one that people do that causes them to end up on GoFundMe is doing nothing, right? Most popular, this is the most common choice. It's irresponsible. Let's just drop the problem on our family. Here's the box. Here's the problem. I'm handing it to you, family, because I don't care. That's what do nothing does, right? It leaves family with having to come up with money in less than a couple of days, because you need money in 3 to 5 days in order to plan a funeral. Otherwise, the funeral home will not do it. They usually ask, one of the first questions is, who's paying and how? And ladies and gentlemen, majority of them do not accept credit cards. So you have to bring a check, money order, or cold hard cash. It leaves your family to figure out how to plan all that. It leaves your family with making over 100 different decisions. It leaves your family with the administrative stress, the emotional stress, and the financial stress all at once. And they may have other things going on in their life at that same time. Why? Because we don't control it. When my grandfather passed away, I was in my finals week, and I was in the middle of a very heavy quarter at work. Did I have any options to move those dates? No. And I couldn't move either the funeral, nor could I move my work and my finals, right? It's not something you can do. They do give you bereavement, But if it's a very important project that you're working on at work, can you move it? Can you really stress it? How much it can impact you, right? So don't do this to your family. Don't stress them out. Second option is prepaying with a funeral home. This is much better than the first option, but it leaves a lot of room for improvement. What I mean by it is you're locked into a funeral home, and majority of funeral homes are individually owned businesses that are local. They do not have regional, national leeway, and we have become a nomadic society, believe it or not. In 2019 and 2020, people moved so much. Even during COVID, people have moved so much across the country, across the states. People move for jobs all the time. We are starting to become more and more nomadic, and families are more and more spread out. So if you lock yourself in with a funeral home, you may find yourself in retirement in an entirely different part of the globe. And then you're still locked into that funeral home, and they're not going to provide you services in another country or another state, right? So you're locking yourself in. The other thing is you're essentially giving them money for them to buy insurance and make themselves beneficiaries. So why bring the middleman into place, right? It's better to have protection that you control. And you can't really compare the costs of funeral homes unless you go to many to do this. And who wants to do that, right? I don't think anybody here wants to actually go around to funeral homes and funeral plan, right? That's not a fun thing to do, I promise you. And go to many different ones, right? People usually maybe go to one if they really, really like that one. But keep in mind, you're signing a contract with them and your family doesn't know what you agreed to. So things could change, or they could make some movements around to show your family later, hey, this is not the case, this is missing, this isn't included. It usually happens to families, right? That's the challenge. The third option is to purchase final expense life insurance. It's a simple life insurance policy, and majority of them don't offer support for families. They do not pay quick enough, and you have to wait and provide certain forms and documents from the government to collect your money, right? You have to wait for the death certificate, and the funeral home expects payments usually prior to the payment of from the actual insurance. Also, they expect payment prior to the service. So you have to put at least some money ASAP. And usually at that time, you're hit with other expenses too. So I told you there's 3 options, but now there's a 4th option. And that 4th option is protecting your family with Everest. Now, Everest is, you may not have heard of us before, but we're actually pretty big. We have more than 25 million clients across the US and Canada. We are now multi-continental. We even have clients in the United Kingdom. So we're across the Atlantic as well. And we protect families by making this final experience, this final expense, a lot easier and simpler for the families, and by essentially packaging all the needs you will have into one box, right? Because we talked about, okay, going to a funeral home. Well, guess what? We give you funeral planning tools. So if you want to make those decisions up front, you can, right? We pay out quickly. So we pay within 48 hours so that your family can have the funds for that funeral. That's crucial, right? So we have that insurance concept in there too, where you get that money. We have Price Finder to compare and contrast the costs of funeral homes included in that package. Tenzing to organize your financial life and pass it on to your loved ones. Will preparation so you can make a will, healthcare directive, and power of attorney whenever and however you want, and you can edit them consistently and constantly and repeatedly as often as you need. And on top of all of that and that insurance piece, we also have a 24/7, 365-day-a-year concierge service that will help you plan, negotiate, and implement anything and everything regarding the funeral. And it is a global service, meaning you can move around, you can go to other countries, you can vacation, you can live in 2 places in the year. So you can spend 6 months in Mexico and 6 months in the United States, as I know some clients of ours have, and they're worried what happens if I pass away in another country. We will help your family take care of all of that. So you may ask, why do I need a concierge, right? What does that do? I've never heard of that before, because we are the only provider that has this kind of concierge added on. You need a concierge because you are making significant financial decisions with very little time, and you're emotionally broken and vulnerable. Now, you may have heard, and I don't know how many people are married here, but you may have heard that everybody pretty much who gets married nowadays gets a wedding planner or a coordinator or both, right? But wedding and a funeral are very, very, very different events, right? Yet both require planning. Both are a 1-day, 2-day event at most. and both are pretty expensive, right? Those are the commonalities. The non-commonalities are that when you're planning a wedding, you have a lot of control. Actually, you have all the control. You decide when, how, to whom, hopefully, right? And hopefully you're happy and excited and not like distraught and broken. If you are, you shouldn't be getting married, but you're in full control, right? You get to decide. You can cancel it. Sure, you can delay it, might create a bridezilla, but you can do it. So it's fully in your control. You have time to prepare, you have time to budget, no problems, right? And you're excited, usually. I'm gonna say usually, because not everybody's excited. I hope you are. In a funeral, all those things are not the same, are very different. In a funeral, you have no control. You can't cancel, delay it, or move it, right? It happens overnight, and you can't budget for it up front, say 10 months in advance, because you don't know when it's going to hit you. You don't know when somebody in your family is going to go, and you're going to have to plan all this out. And you have to make all these same decisions, right? Is there going to be food? Is there going to be music? Is there going to be this? And there's additional decisions you have to make. There's legal things you have to prepare, all in a very short amount of time, on top of being emotionally broken. So we cannot remove the emotional component, but we can remove the administrative component, right? Not knowing where to begin is a big concern people cite. Where will they get the money from is a big concern for a lot of people, right? We remove that stress. Hey, you're getting your money in 48 hours. You call us 24/7, any day of the week, right? Any time of the day. Even if it's Christmas, you call our hotline, you're speaking to a live human being in 30 seconds or less. And that live human being has access to translation services for 170 different languages, meaning you can speak in your native tongue if you're from another country, or if your family members are from another country. It's a toll-free number, so they can call from anywhere. There's an international line with a toll-free number. So even if you're calling from Asia or Africa or South America, your call is still free. And then you get assigned one person that plans, negotiates, and does everything for you as much as you want. Why do I say this is important? These are some decisions you have to make. But a lot of people don't know where to begin, and they're hit with a very difficult question at the start of the whole situation. I'll give you an example. New York City, 2020, middle of the COVID pandemic. We had a customer who called our hotline panicking. She was frantic. She just lost a family member, and the hospital told her, you have to get your loved one out of here because our morgue is full. And she called 2 funeral homes rapidly, trying to figure something out, and they said, we're full, we're full, we're full. And she panicked. She's like, I don't know what to do. They pushed my loved one out into the hallway. They're telling me I have to get him out of here because there's a pandemic going on. I'm the only one that can be inside because you can only have one family member in the hospital at a time because of the pandemic. It was very, very frantic. She was panicking, right? So she finally called Everest, which you should do first. Everest should be the first call you make outside of 911, right? So she finally calls Everest, and we find out that in a 60-mile radius, there is not a single morgue that is accepting anybody. But we found one in Pennsylvania, right? New York City, Pennsylvania, kind of far, but not super far. And in 30 minutes, a vehicle was sent out to pick up that loved one. In about 2.5 hours, I don't know exactly how long it took, but they got there and picked up the loved one, meaning the stress was removed. She got a breath of air. She was able to focus on other things and start planning. Right? And the next day, the money was there, so she could pay for everything. She could plan everything, right? We had helped her already, and that service has just begun. Because at that point, we start figuring out what they want, what they need. We start shopping for funeral homes and caskets, while the family focuses on dealing with the loss, on the emotional component, because that we cannot remove. But we can remove the burden, the stress of not knowing what to do, not knowing where to start, worrying about overpaying. We can remove all that. And it is a global service. When I say global, I mean we can help you plan a funeral in another country. We can help you bring your loved one back to the US, whatever you may want, right? With millennials, this is crucial, right? Especially now. I know you guys may not think about funerals a lot, but people under 35, they all love to travel. And if you travel a lot, does your family know what to do if you end up passing away, God forbid, knock on wood, in another country? Would they know how to bring you back from your dream travel destination? Right? Unfortunately, I've had one friend that passed away in a Middle Eastern country. His family could not get him back home for 2.5 weeks because they had no clue what to do. They didn't speak Arabic. The consulate didn't want to talk to them. There was a lot of problems. Eventually, the embassy in the U.S. got involved, and they hired a lawyer over there and over here. They spent lots of money to do that. We could have helped them if they had Everest, right? So we can do a lot. That concierge can do a lot. You may wonder what are the limitations. There are no religious limitations. There are no family limitations. There are no cultural limitations. We've done it all. Anything that's legal and achievable, we can do. If you want something unique, we can handle it for you. If you want to be turned into a diamond, it's now a service, we can help you organize that. If you want your ashes shot up into the moon and it ends up being possible, we might be able to help you do that. I don't know if it's possible yet. We haven't done that. But we will do everything we can to do it, as long as it's legal and achievable. We're unbiased, meaning we're not partnered with any funeral homes. So we give you an unbiased look and we negotiate on your behalf to make sure you don't get taken advantage of. So there are no hidden costs in your contract, so you don't overpay. And I know I'm talking about this. I'll show you some cases. What's special about us is every call is answered by a live human being, right? You may have called into many companies, many insurance. You may have had to make car accident claims through Geico, Nationwide, whatever it may be, Liberty Mutual or whatnot. But if you call those companies, generally, you are on hold. You have to get to the right department. They transfer you back and forth. None of that here. You talk to a live human being within 30 seconds, no matter what time of day, what day of the year it is. Okay. If you don't believe me, when I started, I spent 30 days making my wife furious at me because I was waking up in the middle of the night just to see if they would answer, right, on random days of the week, because I wanted to make sure when I say this, I believe it. And it does happen. You can do it if you want to. I advise you. Here are some of our reviews of what people say about us. Right? I want to highlight that as well. And then here's how that quick pay works. Right? Because you may wonder, how can we get money to families within 48 hours? We do not require a death certificate. You call that 1-800 number, and the same person that is helping you with the planning, with everything, they're helping you file the claim and get your money there. So that advisor sends you the documents you need to fill out. Hey, here's what you need to fill out to get your money. They walk you through it if you need help on it. Then they facilitate confirmation of death, which does not require a death certificate, so it can be done much faster. Then they submit everything for you, and then they coordinate the transfer of funds. So they ask you, do you want a check? Do you want a wire? Do you want to directly deposit it into your bank account? Right? They do all that for you. The same person you're talking to. So you don't have to call different departments for this, different departments for that. That's why you should call Everest first. Right? First thing you should call outside of 911. And then Everest Advisor monitors that payment process. So as you're calling them to make arrangements with the funeral homes that we will be making for you, they are also giving you updates. Hey, your money's here. Here's what the last step. Here's where it's at. And within 48 hours, it is in your account or the check is in the mail. Right? And yes, this does work globally too. So we also give clients will prep that I mentioned. Who here has a will? Raise your hand. If you have a will, I applaud you. If you do not have a will, you're a part of the majority, because more than 55% of adults do not. But you need to have a will. Everybody needs a will. We package that in with your protection so that you don't have another step you have to take. And you can make all these 3 different legal documents that I call the trifecta of need that every single person in the United States needs. Healthcare directive, power of attorney, and the will. If you're not sure what those other 2 are, talk to the person that invited you after. They will explain to you why you need them. They're crucial. They can really impact your family. And a will, whether you're a millionaire or you just have something in your savings account, or even if you just own a cell phone or 2, you need one. Because if you do not have one, there are many challenges that can happen to your family. A will is crucial for everyone. The government will make all the decisions if you don't have a will. And if you have minor children, even if there's 2 parents, the kids do not automatically go to the parent if there is no will. There might be a process. There could be challenges. There could be a case raised in court, and it takes one person to contest everything. And then this process elongates, costs your family thousands of dollars in legal fees, and can erode anything you're worth, right? So even if you're worth $20,000, $25,000, $30,000, you need a will. and it's free with Everest. Once you make a will, though, where do you put it? That's often the question. That's why Everest also gives you for free, no additional charge, 100 gigabytes of cloud storage where you can upload all of your financial information, all of your will and documents, sacred pictures, hidden recipes, whatever you want. It's multi-layer encrypted, so it's very, very secure. And it allows you to pass these folders on to specific family members only when you pass, meaning you don't have to send your password to anyone today, right? You name them today, you pick the people. Say I pick Aaron, Angel, and Michelle. If I pick them and I pick that they get different folders, they will only get access to these folders once I pass. They won't get access to it today. Because why? I don't know about your culture, but in my culture, I'm Eastern European. If you give your password to a family member, they will know more about you than you know about you, because they will dig through everything, right? This is why it's crucial, because you can say, hey, I have everything in my Google Drive account. Here's my password, right? But then they will dig through all of that. And you don't have control over which folders which, because you cannot lock them individually. Here, you get to decide who gets what, and they only get it when you're gone, right? I make a joke about this. Please don't be that person. We had a gentleman who once asked me on a live seminar. He was very brave. He says, hey, would my girlfriend and my wife find out if I put them in different folders? And he said, he asked that, and I said, well, they will tell them who's on the other designees, but they will not tell them what's in the folder. So I guess not, right? But please don't be that guy. Don't use this tool for that. It's meant to make sure that you go ahead and have all your documents secured and your family gets what they need, right? Gets what's meant for them. Say you want to leave your sibling a letter. Say you want to leave your child the bank statements and insurance policies. All that stuff should be in here. And here's a list we've made of things we recommend you put in there. And believe it or not, a big one that's on the rise is logins and passwords, right? Why? Because people will use your likeness to scam and defraud. And if you don't lock those social media accounts, they're subject to be hacked, because hackers look for dormancy. They look when something's not used, and then they will try to break in there and use your likeness to hack and defraud other people. And Tenzing is an app, so you can do it just with your camera, with your phone. You can scan and upload documents via the App Store. We don't discriminate Blue Bubble or Green Bubble. They're both on Google Play Store and Android, and the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. So you can download this app from there. Use it for you. Use it to designate folders to your family. Put your stuff on there. I put my memberships, Costco cards, all that on there too. So I don't have to carry them with me. I can just pull them up on an app. This is very, very secure. It's got 20 different layers of encryption so that nobody can break into this. And on top of all these free tools I've mentioned that come with your plan, you also get access to Price Finder. Now, Price Finder is more of something you would use to help your family members if you have the policy, right? Because your family will get the concierge, you get the Tenzing, but Price Finder you can give to friends and family when you're trying to figure out a funeral for somebody else. You can pull up all the costs, all the different variations in your area and compare and contrast them. This is a proprietary national database that contains all the funeral homes in the country. It's updated twice a year. We have all the prices listed there. So all these services I talked about, concierge service, funeral planning tools, quick pay, will prep, Price Finder, Tenzing, they all come for one payment. They're all included and they're all very affordable, right? In that one simple package. Packages start in as little as $20 a month, which is now less than 2 pumpkin spice lattes, right? And you get financial protection with it. You get all your money to your family. So you're all covered. 95% of people get approved. So even if you had a pacemaker, you had some sort of challenges with your health, we do approve those folks too. And we approve anybody ages 0 to 85. So it's never too early or too late to plan and protect your family with this service. This is how our website looks. You can see those 2 numbers up top, international and hotline, in case you guys want to call it. This is the tools that you get access to. As you can see, it's all very streamlined and modern. So it's easy to use online to make that will and use those other tools as well. Here's how you would log in for the first time. And then you would get this welcome brochure. Now, this welcome brochure will come with 5 tearaway cards. And these cards contain that 1-800 number. Why? Because I mentioned nobody wants to go in funeral plan, right? Nobody wants to go to different funerals. You get this plan, you've done your planning. You don't have to do anything else, right? You use this plan to prepare yourself, but you don't have to shop around anywhere else. So you give your 1-800 card to those family members that will take care of it for you and say, hey, if something happens to me, here's the card. Why do I say this? I've been the victim of a random grandparent standing up at Christmas dinner and saying, when I die, I want to be cremated. Ruined the whole holiday, right? If you're one of those folks, if you've been at one of those, it's not fun, right? When everybody's quiet, they're chatting, they're having fun, they're enjoying, they're eating, and random relative gets up and says, I want this when I die. You no longer have to do that because you've planned with this. You can put that on the computer whenever you want, and your family will know when they call because they have that 1-800 card. Now, on top of that, I want to highlight that here's how it works when you receive the brochure in the mail, right? You get it, you log in and use all those tools, complete your will, complete all that stuff. You periodically review them and update them as you need. If you buy a new car, if you buy a new house, you have more kids, you want to update those things. And at that time of death, your family contacts us and we take care of everything. We discuss what you want. We figure out what cultural, what religious background you want to plan in your funeral. And then we make those plans with the funeral home on your behalf so that you can focus on what matters. And we remain in contact with your family for as long as they need. There's no charge for it. There's no overages, nothing like that. There is no limits. You can call us a year later if you need help with something. And they will help you take care of it all. So here's the value of Everest and what would happen if you didn't have one, right? Your family would be stuck, not knowing where to start. They'd be overwhelmed with how fast decisions must be made. They would have fear of overlooking important details. They would be unsure of how to research and compare prices. They would be unaware of available services and options. They would also not be sure where to secure the finances from. And they would have to make over 100 decisions that they may not be familiar with. And with Everest, all of those things are taken care of. Everything. It's a 360 service. It's all in one, right? Some fun facts. More than 90% of the calls are answered within 30 seconds. The other 10% is 45. They are all licensed funeral directors with at least 10 years of experience. So everybody on that hotline knows what they're doing. They are truly 24/7. They hand out their cell phone, their personal numbers, so that families can communicate with them however they prefer. And families are given a remember booklet with a checklist of everything they need. I talked about savings, right? I talked about how we can negotiate with funeral homes. I want to show you some actual cases. For the G family, we saved $6,295. For the K family, we saved $3,490. And I always go into detail on the O family because this family to me is an example of two aspects of our service. One is saving you money and the other one is doing what you prefer. So some background on the O family, very wealthy family. They've been going to the same funeral home for generations. At least 6 family members are in the same cemetery and they use the same funeral home. So they went to this funeral home. They pulled up in there with their nice car and nice clothes and everything. And they were quoted $15,000 for services and casket. And they were shown a $75,000 plot right off the bat. When the family found out it was $90,000 for everything, they panicked. So they called Everest on the 1-800 hotline because they remembered that they had him, right? We called that same funeral home, and that same funeral home quoted us for the exact same service and casket, only $5,805. And we were also shown another plot that was the same size and suitable for the same plan, but in a different spot in the cemetery. So same cemetery, same service, same casket, much, much less money, right? About $55,000 less actually, which is crazy. $65,000 less. Family was furious with this. So we showed them several other funeral homes and they chose one that was willing to drop their charges to $3,995 for same casket, same service, same everything. But this family, again, I mentioned they were wealthy. They really liked that $75,000 plot. They said it's closer to the other family members. It's closer to the parking lot they wanted. So they got it. That's why we can only claim $11,000 in savings. And this highlights two things. We will try to save you money no matter what the case is, but we will also customize the service to you. If you want something extravagant, we will do it. We're not going to tell you don't do this, it's too expensive. We'll say this is option A, this is option B. We're not going to force you in any direction. We want you to make an educated decision. This is covered when you need it most. Now, the people that invited you to this awesome event, they have solutions for almost every single one of these situations. But this solution is unique because it represents all of them. You will always need this service. The earlier you get it, the better, because it's more affordable and your health is the greatest, right? If you wait, it starts getting more and more expensive as the older you get. But it's one that you will need for all of these. And all these other ones, they also offer, because they are the gurus of financial planning. They will help you take care of everything, and they will teach you so much about personal finance that you will basically have the equivalent of an MBA with a focus on personal finance. So make sure to connect with them, pick their brains, because they are brilliant. I love working with them every time I come see them. Not only are they full of energy and fun people, but they're also very, very bright, and they know their stuff, right? And if they need a stamp of approval from you guys or from me, they have my stamp of approval. They've taught me more about personal finance than my MBA or my background in finance has, right? So they will teach you as well. So thank you so much. If there's any questions, I don't know if we have the time. I'm going to hand it back to Aaron, our wonderful host, who's also great at basketball, and we're going to have a one-on-one, because I'm terrible, but I'm not that bad as he was saying I was. Thank you guys so much.
I'm really not that good either, brother. I'm Puerto Rican, so we're better at baseball. But you know, I think I could take you. You're pretty strong, but I don't know, man. I got a good jump shot, so we'll see. But I do, Mike. I do have some questions for you. Just 4 questions. First question is, I don't know if you mentioned this, right? I'm over here trying to organize a couple of things too on the side. What is the approval rate for your policies in comparison to, because obviously Everest is the funeral planning aspect of it, but in conjunction with the life insurance companies through the underwriting process, what is your approval rate versus most insurance companies?
So we are at about 95% approval rate, which is very, very high. Majority of other companies sit between the 50 to 65% range. There are some with really varied services and term policies that go down to as little as 40 to 50%.
Wow. So 95% approval.
Correct.
And obviously this process, you know, from the application being submitted to approval also takes just a couple of days.
Sometimes it can be instantaneous. When you click submit, you're done. At most, it takes 72 hours. So the families are covered very, very quickly, because we understand that this coverage is important and crucial in case something does come up.
Another question for you, Mike. When you look at other life insurance companies, because some people on this call might be thinking, I have a life insurance policy, whether it's through work, whether they have their own individual policy. I don't care about the type, because nobody asks that question when somebody passes away. The only life insurance policy that matters when people die is that it's enforced. That's the only one we care about. We don't care about if it's whole life, if it's universal, if it's term. But my question to you is, what is the average time for, let's say, a term policy, right? Or a typical universal life policy or a whole life to pay out the death benefit versus something like Everest?
So with Everest, it's within 48 hours outside of the 2-year contestability period. With other companies, outside of the 2-year contestability period as well, it depends on the state you're in. So I saw one person who was in Ohio. Ohio in 2021 took on average 22 weeks to pay out an insurance claim, which is very, very long, right? Because they were taking a very, very long amount of time to provide a death certificate. With most life insurance policies, you need a death certificate in order to even file the claim. And that comes from the state. Now, if any of you work for the government, I'm not blaming you, but the government has a lot of red tape, and the red tape takes time to issue the death certificate. I think the fastest I've seen a death certificate come through was about 3 weeks. The longest, 22 weeks in Ohio. And from that point, there's still some time for processing that the life insurance company needs. So if you have 3 weeks for a death certificate, then you add 4 weeks to pay out, that's 7 weeks.
If you have 22 weeks and you had 4 weeks to pay out, that could be 26 weeks. If you want to compare and contrast, if you've ever been in a car accident or any sort of accident where you need to file a claim, figure out how long it took you to get that money. For most insurance policies, car insurance, house insurance, if you had a claim like that, it takes several months sometimes. They're about the same, right? Because these same companies have life insurance policies and take that long to pay out because they want to make sure everything is tight-ended when they figure it out, right? Everything is tight, closed, all buttoned up, dressed up. They want to make sure everything's got it. Everything's taken care of before they send you that check. We only need a certificate of death. That's very confusing. I don't want to confuse you guys. Certificate of death is issued by the employee of a morgue or a funeral home director within that funeral home, which means we can have it in 15 to 20 minutes. And from that point on, we can start the rest. And that's why we can pay out within 48 hours. Our record, I'm very proud of that. Now, I'm not guaranteeing anybody this is going to happen to you, but our record to getting a client their money was 3 hours. So we got a person paid out within 3 hours.
Wow, that's incredible. So, Mike, is it safe to say that although I have a life insurance policy, a term, a whole life, a universal, whatever it is, that I can also utilize a policy like this to have some bridge money to make sure that my family's going to be okay for the final expenses that are going to come within a week, week and a half of my loved one passing away?
Absolutely. Especially if you have a term policy, because term policies expire. If you have a term policy, you must have this. And if you have a policy through your job, you have a term policy because they don't really offer a whole life or any other policies. If you have whole life, universal life, or other of those, you should get this to get that bridge money. You should get this to have it dedicated to that funeral expense and make sure that the other funds are focused on other expenses. Because usually folks that have those insurance policies have them to pay off mortgages, have them to leave a legacy, have them to make sure that the family's taken care of. So make sure that you're putting those different eggs in different baskets, right? Eggs for legacy and wealth transfer is your whole life policy, universal life. Egg for going ahead and planning for your funeral can be your Everest, right? And that way your family can get that money quickly, that bridge money, as Aaron mentioned, while they get everything all settled and wait for the big check from that whole or universal life insurance policy.
That's awesome. Mike, last two questions.
Mhm.
There's people from all walks of life, younger, older. I don't like saying old, but older, right? Younger, right? Some health complications, some don't. What would you say is the average premium? I think that's the elephant in the room, the affordability of the program and all the amazing benefits like the Tenzing, obviously complimentary, you have the will prep, but the insurance itself, the premium, what would you say is the average contribution per month?
Well, since there's different levels and different amounts they can choose from $5,000 to $50,000, this is a hard question. But I will tell you, based on the choices people have made and based on the different ages, it's $50 to $75. It'd be in that range.
And Mike, do we spend $50 to $75 a month that at the end of the month, we can't even account for where that money went? Like the pumpkin spice lattes and, $5 there, $10, especially with inflation right now, which is another important thing to take into consideration when you're looking to get coverage, to maybe even get those maximum face amounts, because even if we get 10, 15, 20,000 in coverage, but you live a long life, what are funeral costs going to be 15, 20, 30 years down the line?
Absolutely.
That's
people
amazing.
Spend money very badly. $50 a month. I think most people can relate to spending $50 in a day, right? My wife went to Target yesterday. She doesn't even know what she bought, and it was like $190.
Yeah, man. So last question. What would you say to the person that says, I have a plot?
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. I'm actually very amazed that you thought about this planning. That's awesome. I congratulate you. You should still get a plan like this because a plot is only a part of that planning, right? A plot guarantees you have a location. But what if you happen to pass away on a boat in Cabo and your family needs to bring you back to that plot? That's one. And two, they still need to make arrangements. They still need to pick the kind of service you have, the kind of casket you have, unless you prepay for all those things up front and buy them and store them in your garage or something, you're going to need help and your family's going to need help. And secondly, does your family know you have a plot, right? Because you also want to make sure they know where it is, where your documents are. You can use Tenzing for that. So absolutely. There's usually other things, other expenses that arise at that point. So even if you have more money left because you have that plot, right, you can use that money for other necessary expenses. Maybe some bills that are due, maybe some legal fees if they didn't do their will correctly or somebody's challenging their will, right? Maybe they need to take some time off of work, because a lot of us, when we plan funerals for other people, we have to take time off work. And if we don't have vacation days, it's unpaid, right? They will give you 3 days bereavement, but the average person takes about 5 days to at least calm down emotionally enough to be able to comprehend what's going on to get back to work, right? And they still need to have planned something. So the first 3 days are usually rapid and chaotic. They're trying to figure everything out, right? Which we remove that burden. We make it possible to do it calmly and carefully, right? And so we remove that. But they also may need to take another couple of days just to bring themselves back, especially if they were really close to that person. I know when I lost my grandfather, he was very close to me, even though he lived across the land, knowing that I'll never get to see him again. I needed a little bit more time than 3 bereavement days, right? So I wanted to take some more time. I couldn't because I had finals and I had a major project at work. But I remember my work nor my school were as good because of that struggle, right? So let us remove that struggle. Let us make sure that you can focus on actually healing, and let us take care of all the rest for your family. I call this the final experience policy, not a final expense, because there is an expense, yes, but the other thing is you're giving your family the last gift, and they will remember you for it, and they will remember they didn't struggle with this as much as they normally would have, right? They struggled emotionally, but they will be able to focus on thinking positively of you and memories rather than cursing the funeral home that's trying to take advantage of.
That is amazing. I think that was the best way to end this call. That's like a mic drop right there. No pun intended, right? Mic drop, baby. I love to see it. So, Mike, I just want to thank you on behalf of all 65 people that are on here tonight, especially, who is it? My man Brandon is on like 6 times. So it's like 6 Brandons on. I think it's different people, though. But I do want to appreciate you, Mike, for jumping on this call tonight. And allowed us to have an evening with Everest and learn all about the ins and outs, the bells and whistles, the benefits of Everest in conjunction with those insurance companies like IA American, to be able to have a funeral concierge plan rolled into a life insurance. And so we thank you, brother. We appreciate you. And what I want to do really quickly before everybody logs off, I'm going to launch a poll and I'm going to have some music in the background. Please take a second to answer the poll. It's going to automatically pop up on your screen. There's going to be multiple options, right? Multiple choice, like you were in school and you were taking those examinations, of whether you want to learn more about Everest, you want to talk a little bit more about our opportunity in WFG to earn some money on a part-time basis, regardless of your background. Everybody needs to make more money, and what we do for families is so important, but also understand a little bit more about the other strategies that we can recommend to families, and look at this from a comprehensive approach from A to Z, whether it's retirement, whether it's saving for your child that's a newborn, whether it's investment, whether it's, life insurance or long-term care. So I'm going to launch that poll, take the poll really quickly. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the near future and hosting more events. Mike, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. I do want to say one thing, Aaron, if you can, to help you guys and commemorate a little bit, if you can, after the fact from the poll, pull a random name. Participating in the poll will be a chance for one of you to win a swag bag. So if you pick a random person from the poll that answered it, I will send them a swag bag of goodies, including a power bank, water bottle, and notebook. So
That's it. See, you guys got to answer. You got no choice. You don't want the swag bag, right? Like Pierre calls it goodies. He calls it the swag bag. I'm going to go with Mike's name for it. I like swag bag better. So we're going to look at those results for those that answer on the poll. And we're going to pick somebody. We're going to raffle it off to somebody that, answered that poll. And then we're going to get you your swag bag. That's Mike's promise. That's our promise to you. We appreciate you guys. have a great night, get your swag bag, right? And answer that poll so that we can best understand what it is that you're interested in learning more about so that we can align you with the opportunities within our organization. Everybody have a great night. Answer the poll. We love you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time.